Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I want to expand on this morning's video, a news brief video this morning. I mentioned to you about the problems in the banking industry, what's going on, and there's a whole lot more to that. It's very much connected with the whole economy, and I believe it's something that we should be very well aware of and start paying attention. I know that our attention has been focused a lot lately on war stuff, Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, Russia. We've been focused on, election stuff and Trump getting them, indicted. And, there's all these different things going on. And there's nothing wrong with being focused on those, but don't forget what's going on in the banking, in your currency, and all that kind of stuff, because, well, that's a pretty big deal. But there is definitely some problems in the banking area, and that's that's a pretty big understatement. I mentioned this morning that there's 64 bank branches that are shutting down. It was filed this past week that a lot of these big banks that they're shutting down their branches, and I mean that's a sign that the economy's slowing down. If the economy's slowing down, you shut banks down. If the economy's going good, you open up more banks. If there's more money, flow of money, you need more banks. But it's a lot more than just that. Obviously, the economy isn't doing good at all. Most of you, if you noticed this Thanksgiving, if you went out and bought groceries, you probably paid a lot more. You're paying more for everything. On average, between 25 and 40% increase over the last 3 years on just about anything and everything you're buying. And some things, it's in the triple digits. Now, according to the White House, that's not the case. I want to show you this little clip that came out today of Joe Biden saying that this was the 4th cheapest Thanksgiving on record. I'm not joking. He said that they have done such a great job in bringing prices down on everything. This was the 4th cheapest Thanksgiving on record. I want you to just listen to this.
In fact, as a share of earnings this Thanksgiving, dinner was the 4th cheapest ever on record. I want you all to know that. I look at all the press, look at that. The press is particularly excited about that, I can see.
Yeah, he said that. Now, you can chalk it up to him being senile old Joe, or maybe it's gaslighting, or maybe it's this newspeak, war is peace, peace is war, all that kind of stuff. But this is the kind of message that they're trying to get across, and of course everyone knows that this is baloney. It's absolute baloney. The cost of everything's gone up. People are having to get 2 and 3 jobs now just to make ends meet. It's in just about every aspect. It's getting bad. It's getting worse, not just bad. It's been bad for a while. It's just progressively worsening. And the average person is starting to notice, this whole Bidenomics thing isn't going so well with the people. Even people on the left are starting to say, you know what, this ain't working so well. We're sick and tired of not being able to do anything because our money doesn't buy anything because everything's so expensive. So that is part of this banking problem. But there's a bigger, really more sinister thing going on here. All the while that all this stuff that's happening that's distracting us, and some of it's legitimate things. When I say distracting, it almost makes it sound like it's fake or not important, and that's not the case. These things are important a lot of times, and they're not always fake, but they still do distract us from something that's an underlying threat that will completely change history forever. I believe that once this is done, I've said this before, it's in game. It's done. If you haven't picked which side that you're on and what your plan is, it's going to be chosen for you when this happens. And that's switching everyone over to a digital currency system. And that's a big part of what this banking shutdown of branches is. Because you see, they're automating everything. I know people that work in the banks, and I'm sure most of you do too. You know, that's not a big bragging rights there. But the point is I've been told that a lot of these banks, they're internally working on switching over to digital currency. They're building the infrastructure, there's computer systems and the training and everything to set things in place so that when digital currency is happening, that they're ready to kind of transition over. So it is a serious progression that's happening. And I don't really think there's anything that's going to change that. I know there's always the folks that say, well, so-and-so's proposed a bill that'll outlaw digital currencies and all this kind of stuff. Well, I mean, our currency that we have right now isn't even constitutional, you know, or the Federal Reserve notes. They're not constitutional. They're not legal money, but yet we use them. So central bank digital currency doesn't have to be legally authorized money either, but if it's accepted, it's accepted. You know, the people will accept what they have. And if that's what it is, then that's what it is. So I don't really concern myself with some particular congressman that's going to try to get a bill passed that doesn't have a chance of passing, that's going to outlaw it. You know, a little congressman is not going to control what the banking cartel does. Moving on, this is a big deal. They're downsizing everything. They're leaning things up. They don't need the people anymore. Between the artificial intelligence software and the fact that it's a digital currency, there's not a need for banks. Think about that. When it's all digital, when everything's digital, what's the purpose of having a bank? You know, you're not going to get any currency out. You're not going to put any currency in. There's not going to be checks to deposit or coin or anything like that. And if you need a loan, it's all going to be done, you know, digitally anyway. So there won't be a need for it. And that's a pretty big sign that this is happening. Now, for those of you that think that it's not going to be accepted, I also disagree with you on that. The vast majority of Americans, it's not just that they will accept it, it's they already have accepted it. You see, the vast majority of current currency is all digital already. In fact, statistically, most people don't even carry paper currency on them anymore. And I'm not in favor of our fiat, fake, monopoly money currency, but at least it's something that I can hold in my hands and control. And, you know, possession is 9/10 of the law. So as bad as it is and as inflated and fake as it is, it's at least something that I can hold. When it's digital, you can't. And most people already use digital money. I mean, it's central, it's you know, Federal Reserve notes, but it's still a digital format of that. And so getting people to switch over to a digital currency that's central bank, well, I think most people won't even notice it. In fact, I suspect it's going to be done very quietly for the most part, and most people won't even notice it really happening because everything's already digital. There's a video I saw a few days ago of, I think it was in California, and I believe it was Bank of America, but I could be wrong on both parts. And it showed a new bank that opened up. And it was a lot like these convenience stores and fast food joints that you've seen that are completely automated. There's no human working there. And it was a bank, you go in and they had these teller machines all over the place. And then they had these little private rooms you could go in and, you know, get loans and stuff like that. But there was no human working at the bank because everything was digital. It was all digital. And it's going to get to that point. And so as we watch more and more of these banks downsize and shut down branches and stuff, I think a lot of that's because we're getting close to digital currency. And you know, think about it right now. How many people you know have a bank account with a bank that there's no branch anywhere near them? You know, people have accounts in banks that, you know, aren't even in their own state, because everything's done through electronics now, and so there's no need to actually go to a physical bank for the most part, for most needs. And again, I think most people will just accept this. The problem is they don't really understand what they're accepting. I do believe that this is part of the beast system. I don't think it's the thing, but it's certainly part of it. The level of technology that's been developed and is actually currently being used is pretty scary. You know, you can have your bank account attached to the palm print of your hand, and when you go to buy groceries, you just wave your hand over something and it deducts it out of your account. People actually have microchips in their skin on their hand, and they just scan the microchip and it deducts from their account. The retinal scan, facial recognition scan. This is the kind of stuff that's being done in China and California, a lot of the big cities that, you know, kind of are on the cutting edge of technology. It's being done there. It's not going to take too much to switch people over to digital currency. And like I said, most people won't even notice it, except when it comes to your privacy. Because once we have digital currency, all privacy, well, it's pretty much done. They'll be able to control everything you purchase, where you go, how much of something you purchase, the value of your currency. Everything will be controlled. And we are getting close to this, folks. I don't think that we're many years and decades away. I think we may just be months away from this. The International Monetary Fund has been pushing it lately pretty hard. The vast majority of the world's nations are fully on board, and many of them have already implemented it, either fully or at least in a transitional form. America is in the testing and the development stage, but I suspect, and this is just a gut feeling, I suspect if they needed it to make it happen overnight, they're probably far enough along that they could make it happen tomorrow if they had to. And that just may be what happens. There's been a lot of talk, and yes, I know it's just talk, but there's been a lot of talk of some type of over the weekend banking collapse that could, you know, bring about a digital currency. You know, your money isn't worth anything. You don't have access to your money. That's okay. We have this new currency. We can just kind of switch you over to this, and then that way everything is taken care of. When this is done, folks, and this is a big reason why myself and many others, not the only, but a big reason why we prepare, and not just prepare, but really work on becoming self-sufficient, work on ending our dependency on the system as much as we possibly can. Because when this is done, you're owned completely. And I know many of you have questions about what about my Social Security, what about my pension, disability, paying taxes, all of that. I don't have the answers for it. I don't. But I've got to believe that the more and more you are detached from the system, the less and less you need the system, the better off you're going to be. Because if you are not in a place where you can avoid going to the grocery stores or to the doctor's offices or using their utilities or anything like that, if you have to have all that kind of stuff, well, I don't know how you can avoid it. I don't. I mean, we don't fully know what all their plan is, but if their plan is to implement it, you're going to have it to have those things. And so I'm telling you, folks, I'm not trying to exaggerate. I'm not trying to clickbait you. I'm not trying to get more likes and all that. I'm telling you sincerely, this is a serious deal. When paper currency is gone, and it's all digital at that point, and they have full, complete control over every penny that you use and spend and where you get it and what you do with it, it's game over. We've become completely captivated by the beast Big Brother system. And however you plan on doing it, however you can do it, I would work really hard to detach yourselves from that system, because it's coming. They're not shutting these banks down for no reason. They're certainly not shutting them down because they're losing money. They're shutting them down because it's not necessary anymore. They don't need them. There's no need for this, because as people are switching more and more to digital currency already, meaning that they're just using cash less. They're not using it much. You know, no one uses cash. Banks are making it even difficult. I've seen many banks now have a $500 daily limit cash withdrawal. You can only withdraw $500 from a bank, not an ATM, going into a bank. It used to be that, you know, if you wanted to withdraw $10,000 or $20,000, you could do it. Nowadays, the banks, they say, don't even have that kind of cash in the building. That's crazy. Years ago, I worked at a bank before I got into law enforcement, and it was a small bank. And I mean, we could have, a couple of hundred, $500,000 in currency in the bank at any given time. And now they say they don't have it. I've heard some pretty solid reports that some of these banks barely have more than $20,000 total in cash in the bank at any given time. A lot of them don't take change anymore, any kind of loose coin, and they strongly discourage any kind of withdrawals of cash because they're moving away from it. They're conditioning and training people to not use currency. And so when they switch over to digital currency, central banked digital currency, most people won't know it until it's too late, until they've monitored everything and it's attached to your social credit score and you can't purchase this, or your money doesn't buy this, or the value of your money has changed because you haven't been playing the part correctly. You haven't been listening to your overlords. This is serious, folks, and it's coming at us pretty fast. And I strongly suggest you really get stuff ready. This is not something that once it happens, you're like, oh, I should probably go out and stock up on things. You won't be allowed to. That's the whole point. Once this is done, you can't go out and buy 100 pounds of rice or beans or a case or two of ammunition. You just won't be able to. You won't be allowed. And so if you're not ready by the time this is put into place, then I don't know what to tell you. It may be just done for at that point. Folks, this is serious. It's time to get your houses in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.